So we're learning. Should be a panacea and for Shleim for everyone that needs. We start. This is a Yerushalmi. This Masechta Shekalim. It's published in the Vilna Bavli. Yeah, I'm not sure how it got in here. But whatever the case is, it's here. It's here to stay. So we learned this is the one Yerushalmi Masechta that the Daf Yomi learns, simply because it was published in the Vilna Shas. Yeah, so there's no Rashi and Tosfos because the Yerushalmi wasn't really studied.
Why wasn't it in the Bavli?
Why wasn't it in the Bavli? Yeah, I don't know. The Bavli doesn't really have. Well, I'm not sure if it got lost or it was never written. The Bavli doesn't have Zeraim and Taras, and it doesn't have Shekalim either. So, yeah. Yeah. So we have over here Korban Eda, Mishnah Elio, Rivvan, that's Rabbi Yehuda ben Binyamin, and Taklin Chadatin. Taklin Chadatin is the commentary that's used. That's like the
Why wouldn't Rashi?
Yeah, I don't know if Rashi wrote on this. Yeah. The language is a little different. Which one do you have? Yeah. You're good. With page 2, the first page of the text, not of the acknowledgements and all that. So let's begin. Be'echad ba'adar, on the first of Adar, that's the month of Adar. Mashmin al Shekalim. They publicize the Shekalim. What is Shekalim? Shekalim is a type of coin that people would have to donate once a year. We'll learn more about it. Basically, over here it doesn't mention that it's a half a shekel. It just says Shekalim. They would give the shekel coin. Why the shekel coin? It was a half a shekel. I think in the desert it was half a shekel, but then they changed the size of the coin and it was a shekel. They would give they would give a coin called a shekel, which is half a selah, and I think the shekel hakodesh is the selah. So this is half a shekel of a shekel hakodesh. This is a different shekel. It's like a Canadian dollar, So when would they do this? They would announce this on the first of Adar. The announcement went something like, "Everyone, please contribute to the shekel fund." Right? That would be the announcement. Balakalayim, kalayim is forbidden mixtures of grain or other vegetation. You weren't allowed to plant things that would mix together. Now, there was a certain measurement. The Taklin Chadatin says that they would make sure that there wasn't 1 in 24. That was the forbidden amount. That would be a measurement that would be prohibited. The way it worked was a base reva for a sa. The way they measured land was by how much grain you could plant in it. So a bucket of grain, let's say a sa of grain, was a piece of land, because a base sa could plant 1 sa of grain. How well is a base sa? Was 50 by 50 amos. So a 1/24 of that, it's easier if you divide it into 25, but they didn't. They divided into 24. The reason why they 50 by 50 would have been 5 by 5 would be 25, right? You divide it up. Each square would be 10 by 10. They didn't do it. They divided by 24, which makes it very difficult. So yeah, well, the reason why they did it was because the amount of grain that was used was a sa, and 1/6 of a saw is a kav, so the 6th kav in the saw. And then they had a measurement called a quarter kav. It's called a roiva. So 4 times 6 would be 24. So because they usually measure in grain, and so by measuring grain, it was easier to do a 24. The measurement that would hold the seed was a 25. Anyway, whatever the case is, that doesn't matter. Just that the Taklan Charitin says that this commentary says that once they got the ratio down to less than 1/24th, then it was acceptable to have that forbidden mixture. Once it's less than 1/24th, that's a chiddush because other Rishonim say that if there's a forbidden mixture, you have to uproot it entirely. You can't just dilute it or diminish it. You have to take it totally out. Here he doesn't say that. Okay, whatever the case is. But now we're continuing through the month of Adar. On the 15th of Adar, Karnas Megillah B'Krachim. We read the Megillah in the walled cities. Skip the basic, important about that, but we'll see. Mesakna Sadrachim. We also fix the roads, the wider roads. What would they fix them for? Well, during the rainy season, the roads would get ruined, and they needed to fix them so that people could make their way to the temple, to the Eila Regel, to visit the temple on the holidays. And also, before Pesach, yeah. And also, this is not why they repaved 10th Avenue, was to get to the Ari Mikla. Okay, Vesa Mikvais. It's possible. No, I said, and also to get to the Ari Mikla, the cities of refuge, but that's not why they repaved 10th Avenue. And the Mikvais, the cities of refuge. If someone killed by accident, you would have to run to a city of refuge. The mikveh, the mikveh is supposed to be 40 sa. 40 sa. We got that measurement because we have this. We have this in Pesachim. We had this. Yeah, got it a few weeks ago. We had to measure the size of a person, and that was 3 amas by 1 amma. How much a person could crouch into. So if the mikveh doesn't have that amount of water, they have to fix it up. So on the 15th of Adar, they would go around and check the mikvahs to make sure they were mikvahs samayim. You know, like they tell you by one of the changing of the clocks, you have to check the battery in your smoke detector or whatever. Okay, va'isim kol tzarchei arabim. And and they would also do other public needs. They would mark off any graves, which would be an issue for kayanim, or other things that needed to be holy. And they would go out to check on the kalayim as well. Well, they already did that at the beginning. There was something else they had to check for this as well. We'll see you in a minute. Okay, the Gemara starts off. Why on the 1st of Adar? Why specifically the 1st of Adar would they make these announcements and they check these things? So that the Jewish people should bring their shkalim in the right time. They wanted to be able to bring this new sacrifices from the new donations that should start on the 1st of Nisan. So they wanted to get the entire collection in by the 1st of Nisan. All the money was there, all the funds were in by the 1st of Nisan. The 1st of Nisan would come, they would start the new, it would open up the new, it's called Lishka. It was the room that had this big pushka in it. And they would open up, they would buy the new sacrifices with the new funds. Now, you see the next word? It says Umar. That's the Yerushalmi way of saying Amar. I should read it. Umar. It says Umar. Right. That's Amar. That's it. Yerushalmi is This is like Ebonics of the Talmud Bavli. It chops off beginnings and ends of words and hyphenates a lot. It contracts a lot of words. So you have to sound it out to sort of know the spelling is off. I mean, it was a different dialect of Aramaic. You follow? Tell me Yerushalmi is not in Hebrew. Tell me Yerushalmi is in Aramaic. But it's a different dialect. So you have different words. So this is Amar. Yeah, so far so good. You'll see. Yeah, it's pretty much the same. Just a few words that you have to get used to. We have to fast 100 fasts, right? Like Reb Zera. To study the Yerushalmi. Reb Zera went from Babylonia to Israel, and he fasted 100 fasts, according to one version, to forget all his learning and the Babylonian, to be able to study them. Okay. There you can make a scene. Amar Reb Shmuel bar Reb Yitzchak. Reb Shmuel bar Reb Yitzchak says, Trumas halishka kitchilasa. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to take the Trumas halishka. That's when they open up that pushka, that charity box. They open that up, and they start to get to purchase the new sacrifices for the new year. That was exactly the way it was done originally. How was it done originally? On the 1st of Nisan, on the first month of the second year, on the first of the month, they set up the Mishkan and they started to bring the sacrifices. The inauguration of the Mishkan and the very first time was Nisan. So therefore, the inauguration every year of the new sacrifices is going to be the 1st of Nisan. Tani Allah was taught on this in the Brisa. On the day the Mishkan was set up, on that day, they opened up the donations that were given to start to spend that money to buy the new sacrifices. Rav Tavi, Rav Yeshia, B'Shem Rav Kana, or B'Shem Kana, B'Shem Rav Kana. Rav Tavi says the name of Rav Yeshia and the name of Rav Kana. Nemarkan Chodshei. Over here is referring to Zaysel Asfeidesh B'Chodshei, L'Chodshei Hashana. The sacrifice that's brought on Rosh Chodesh in Parshas Pinchas, right? Rosh Chodesh. Over there it says Zaysel Asfeidesh B'Chodshei, L'Chodshei Hashana. V'Nemar La'alan Chodshei. No, but it says over there when we're talking about the Kiddush HaChodesh, and you should take the Pesach offering in Egypt. Over there, it also says Chodshei. Rishon hu lachem l'chodshei hashana. So that word Chodshei is said twice. Ma Chodshei shena. It said in two different contexts, and we're going to compare them. Ma Chodshei shenemar la'alan. Just like the Chodshei that says over there, Ein Mein Elav Nisan. It's telling you that you count and start from the month of Nisan, the 1st of Nisan. Af Chodshei shenemar kan Ein Mein Elav Nisan. Also, the one that it says regarding the sacrifices begins in Nisan.
That's why we start other.
All of this is explaining why we do the collection in Adar, so that we should have everything ready, because we want to start the new sacrifice purchase. All of that from Nisan. Amar Rabbi Yaina says, Shavak Reb Tavi Reisha Demas Nisan. Rabbi Yossi forgot the beginning of the Brisa. Amar Seifi only says the end of it. $. The Loi Kane Tani. Did it not say the following? I just edited it. I edited it because of the. Did I see that? The Gra. See it fixes it. Yeah, the Gra says Loi Kane Tani. Loi Kane Tani. You see on the bottom of the page? I have it on the bottom. See a base. You have to find the right base. It's a block letter base in brackets. Like Tani. Thank you. Okay. It says in the beginning of the Brisa, This is the burnt offering of the month and the beginning of the month. Maybe every month we should start a new collection and we should collect everything that we need for that month. And each month we would purchase new sacrifices for that month. In the month, or in the new month, for the rest of the months. You do it once, and then you do that for the whole year. Maybe you do it in any month you want. Doesn't tell you which month, but you know you're going to do it once for the whole year. It says over here, it says over there, now he quotes what Rab Tavi quoted. It says, yeah, so the end of it says that which month are we going to do? It's going to be in Nisan. But the beginning of the Bryce has to tell me that I'm only doing it once a year. I'm not doing it once a month. Okay. Mahu Mashmian. What was the publicizing? Rav Huna Amar Machbrizin. Rav Huna says it was an announcement. It's possible that it was the reading of Parsha Shekalim, or maybe not. I don't know what Machbrizin means. Machbrizin could mean, they blew through a megaphone, and they said, "Everyone, please bring your Shekalim." Or it could mean they read in the Torah. Heich, as Madat Omar, as it says in the verse,
Yeah, I was waiting for that. Why you say here Omar? Omar.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all back and forth. It's all over the place. You'll see. My set of Yerushalmi. I don't know if every Yerushalmi has it, but my set of Yerushalmi that I got, someone gave me as a gift, very nice gift. It's a new print of the Yerushalmi, and it's by the Lublin publication. Anyway, at the front, in the introduction, there's several pages of words, of Aramaic words that are different in the Bavli and the Yerushalmi, and it gives you like this list. A very cool. It's so okay. Rav Huna Amar Machbrizin. Heich Madat Amar, as it says in the pasuk in Divrei Hayamim, v'yitin kol b'Yehuda v'Yerushalayim. This pasuk says that they made an announcement. This is talking about Yehoyash, that was renovating the Beis Hamikdash, and he made a collection, and that collection was done. They made an announcement to do this collection. Yeah, the pasuk goes on. That says, I don't have it over here, but it goes on and it says, Lahavi Hashem Masas Moshe Eved Hashem, and it's referring to Shekalim. Okay. Taman Taninan, over there it was taught, Ein bin Adar Rishon Ladar Sheni Ela Mikra Megillah Matanas Lavyainu. There's no difference between the first Adar and the second Adar, except for, because the Jewish calendar, the Hebrew calendar has a leap month. Not an extra day, it has an extra month every 2-3 years. So, Adar 2. So when do you have Purim? So it says you have Purim, you have the reading of the Megillah and the Matanas Lavyanim is in the second Adar, not in the first Adar. Reb Simon b'shem Reb Yeshua ben Levi, af shimu shkalim u'kalayim b'neiim. Reb Simon, in the name of Reb Yeshua ben Levi, says, well, it's not just that the second Adar is the Adar for Purim, but the second Adar is also the Adar for announcing the Shekalim and also for the Kalayim. Not in the first other, it's the second other. Reb Chelbai v'Rav Huna, Rav b'shem Reb Chia Rabba, Hakol Yitzim b'Yudaled, Shuzman Kriyasa. There's a statement.
Is this Rav Huna from Bava?
Yeah, I believe this is the Rav Huna. That's a student of Rav, and it's Rav Huna, and then it says Rav. I'm not sure that Dalet.
Well,
Virav.
Rav studied by Rabbi Danasi. So,
and here it says Rav in the name of Reb Chia Rabba, which is his uncle that both studied under Rabbi Danasi. Yeah, him and his uncle. So, but it's being brought to us by Reb Chelbai, being said by Reb Chelbai. They had access to the early Amirayim in Bavel. They had Rav. Rav is quoted in Rav Huna, is quoted in the Yerushalmi, as we see here. Yeah, they were not going to have Abaye and Rava, and the Rav Papa, Rav Huna Breder, Rav Yeshua, Rav Ashi, that's not going to be in here. But the early Amirayim of Bavel. So he says that everyone is Yaitza if they read it on Yud Daled, on the 14th. Now, there were cities that were surrounded by a wall that the Megillah was supposed to be read on the 15th, right? But he says, but nevertheless, if they read it on the 14th, the Yaitza. Amar Rabbi Yossi, no, Rabbi Yossi is going back, not on the statements from Rabbi Talbi, he's going back on Rabbi Simon. He says, V'yos. Yes, means it's correct. Klumamru Mashmin al Shkalim, did they not say that they announce on the Shkalim, like Shekalim by Nasam? They said, why do they announce the Shkalim? That everyone should bring their shekel, their coin, is so that it should be brought in time for Nisan. If you would say that they bring it on in Adar Rishon, Ad Kedun, you still have Ad Kedun is Peshata, you still have in the year Shitin Yaimet, 60 days. This is like the snooze button. If you have too much time, then you press the snooze button and then you miss out. You can't set your alarm too early because they say, I still have another 20 minutes, nothing. Just go back to sleep, then you oversleep. So you have to set your alarm for just enough time where you don't have the liberty of pressing snooze. So to make it tight. So what you do here is if we would announce the Shkalim on the first Adar, then everyone would say, I have 60 days. So I'll do it later. So no, you have to announce it on the second Adar where you only have 30 days left, and that way it's brought on time.
So why do you say and then other why do you say there?
I don't know. Right. Yeah. Yerushalmi doesn't always fix every problem like the Bavli would do. The Bavli would have said, oh, so what do we do with that? We would have said, oh, Chasurim Echser or something. Or we have another brisa and it fits with that. The Yerushalmi sometimes just leaves things like, okay, whatever, that's what it says. So, another point. Klumamru, they say that they also go out to check on the forbidden mixtures. Why do they do it in the second Adar? Because they want to be able to see what started to sprout. You can't tell what's going to grow until it sprouts and you start to see like what that plant is. So they would go, and after it started to sprout, they'd be able to see, oh, this is not good. And they would pull out whatever was not for that field. Right? The wind would sometimes blow in things, and sometimes it would be planted on purpose or whatever, and they had to fix it. So, no, it was actually Besdin that would walk around. Yeah, they would go around and check. Right. They had shluchei Besdin that went around to check to make sure.
So they would their first field and count how many plants are growing in it.
Right.
There was other plants.
What is it? So, Kulum Amru, Yaitzim Afaklim, like they should in Smachim Nikarim. Imar at Ba'ada Rishon, if you say that it's going to be done in the first month, At Kedun, that means it's yet, the Kikin, they're still small. They're still too small. You won't be able to tell what's growing there if you do it in the first Adar. Two proofs that when there's two others, that the announcements are made in the second Adar. And the Kalayim as well. One for the announcement, one for the Kalayim. The announcement was that it was going to give them too much time and then they would postpone it. And the Kalayim is because it wouldn't be recognizable in the first Adar what was growing there. Reb Chizki has a question. Now, the Taklan Chadatin, I should tell you, Taklan Chadatin means shekel chadash, new shekel. The tough and shin are interchangeable. Pakistan. So shekel, chadatin is chadash. So you follow that? That's the commentary. Okay. So he points out when it says Reb Chizki Yishal that these are questions that he knows the answer. He just wants to see if other people agree with him. So would you accept my opinion? This is my opinion. I'm not asking I'm not asking this question as if I don't know. I know the answer. I just want to know if you agree. Like, what do you think about this? Me'ata, if this is the case, B'nai Bavel mashmiyan al ashkala mireshish chayref. Reb Chizkiya says, according to this, B'nai Bavel, that's like a few months' journey away from Yerushalayim in Babylonia. It's a big trip. So they should have to announce the shkalim not 1 month before. They should have to announce it several months before to be able to get the shkalim there on time. The snail mail, right? It was a long trip. It would have to get there by.
That would have been a statement basically.
Yeah, it would to get there by Rosh Chodesh Nisan. You would have to make an announcement at the beginning of the winter.
Or they can bring it during the year.
Yeah, but when we wanted to remind them of when you need to get it in. That reminder would have gone out at the beginning of the winter. That they should start to send it and change their money. They should be able to send the right amount, and that's their due date.
I read somewhere that enough shekalim had to be in by the 1st of Nisan to start the whole process.
Yeah.
And others would bring it later, and they would.
Yeah, we're going to see that opinion shortly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we're going to see that shortly. Yeah. Reb Chizkiya didn't hold it that. He wants it all in by with Naftali. There's a trophy here and a virtual. Okay. Like Kadesh Yisrael Sheklim by Nasam, but V'titarem Truma Salishkim and Chadash B'Zmanim B'Chav B'Nisan. Oh, the someone takes that out. I don't know, the garage, someone took it out. Yeah. No, the Nuscha Sababli. Yeah. Okay, whatever the case is. We got the point. His question is, and it's not his question, it's his statement, and he's just asking for them to agree, is that the shkalim for B'nai Bavel, the announcement should be at the beginning of the winter. Hesiv Rav Ula, Kumi Rav Mana. Rav Ula says, or Heshiv, he responds in front of Rav Mana, But Taninan, well, we have a Mishnah. B'shleisha prakim b'shana terminus alishka. B'preisa Pesach, preisa tzeres, preisa chag. There's 3 times during the year, this is what Reb Naftali was mentioning. There's 3 times during the year that they would actually open up the pushka and take out new coins. And it's a half a month before Pesach, half a month before Shavuos, and half a month before, price means half. Half a month before Sukkot. Yeah, this was the sale, right? So they would open this up, and they would get new sacrifices. Why would they do this? Amar Lei. This is a weird Amar Lei. He's continuing. He's usually Amar Lei is like when they change people who's talking. Here he's continuing to speak. Neymar Elaine the Craven the Presa Pesach, Elaine the Rechekim Presa Tzeres, Elaine the Rechekim Menheim the Presa Chag. Say it like this: those that were close, their Shekalim made it in for Pesach. So half a month before Pesach, they would open it up and get things ready. They would start to use those new sacrifices on the 1st of Nisan, but they would have to start getting things ready to purchase and all of that half a month before. Those that were from further away, their coins came in later, so it would come in half a month before Shavuos. And those that were even further away, their coins would come in half a month before Sukkot. So basically, Reb Chizkiah, we don't agree with you, because just because it takes time for the coins to arrive, so what? We'll do it later. We'll open up. We'll use their coins later. Now, what this is based on is that the sacrifices need to be purchased for the sake of all of Israel. So when you donate your money is being used for the sacrifices. That means you have a portion in all the sacrifices. Now, if your money doesn't arrive on time, when they take the money, are they still purchasing it for you for the money that hasn't arrived? Yeah. And that's the question over here. Chizkiah says, no, the money has to have arrived for the sacrifices to be on your behalf. And the other ones are saying, no, this Rabula says, no, they purchase it for you for later, but they just show it by using your money afterwards. But they have you in mind anyway. Amalei, no, Ella, and this is maybe Ella. Ella kula kachasiba. What's going on over here? Yeah, he responds back. It all comes at once. This is Reb Chizkiah. Why did it say that there were 3 times that they would open up that pushka, that chest of money? They would open it up 3 times in order to make it publicized. Everyone should know to see that this is how they do this. We're using the funds that come from yeah. Yitzi says it's before Twitter. Okay. Now it says Rabbi Yehuda Bar Pazi b'Shem Rebbe. Hey Nikra v'lei nivas. Can you read this and not be afraid? What this means is not be afraid from the power of the Yetzer Hara. So the Taklin Charatim. It says you should tremble from the strength of the Yetzer Hara. Look at what's happening here. L'taiva, when it what is the Yetzer Hara? When it comes to good, to the positive, kol medivlev. Anyone that was generous gave to the temple, to the tabernacle. L'ra, when it came to something negative, by Yisparku Kalam, it wasn't just anyone that was generous. It was everyone. Everyone they broke off their earrings that they gave to the eagle, to the golden calf. So it wasn't just those that were generous gave, it was everyone gave. L'taiva, when it came to good, by Yaitse Moshe Sa'am, Moshe brought the people to Mount Sinai to receive the Torah. L'ra, when it came to bad, Vatikruvan alai kolchem, you all came on your own. When it came to this complaining to the spies. L'taiva, when it came for the good, Az Yashem Moshe, B'nai Yisrael, Moshe and the Jewish people began to sing. But it looks like the inspiration came from Moshe, and then the Jewish people followed. L'ra, when it came to bad, Vatisa Kaleida, everyone lifted up their the whole congregation. They did this on their own. They didn't need help.
So why are you saying it?
Yeah, how does this come in? It's associated with the giving of the Shekalim. Amar Reb Chia Barba, where it says Abba, usually Reb Chia Barba. Reb Chia Bar, it's in the Bavli we have him as Reb Chia Bar Abba, and the Yerushalmi is called Reb Chia Barba. It's a student of Reb Yochanan. He says, "Achin eskimu hishchisu." It's quoting a pasuk from Tzfanya. It says they wake up and they corrupt. They wake up early and they corrupt. Anytime there was a corruption, they would wake up early and cause this corruption. Yeah, it wasn't for the Daf Yomi. They would wake up and make trouble. Amar Rabbi Ba Baracha, Einat Yachal Lamed Alof Yeshalom Azu. You can't figure out the nature of this nation. Nitban La'egel, when there's a collection for the golden calf, so v'noisnin, they give. Nitban La'mishkan v'noisnin. When there's a collection for the Mishkan, they give also. See, this is a tough character to figure out. Yeah. Who are these people? Yeah, I have to send them to Freud, and he'll tell you. A bit of this, a bit of that, right? Okay. Tana Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina Adam Asnisa. Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina taught this brisa. Vasisa Kapeiras of Tar. Says it's not as strange as you think. It says that they made the lid of the Aron, the Kapeiras, out of pure gold. Yavai Zav shall Kapeiras v'yechaper al Zav shall Egel. Let the gold of the Kapeiras, of the lid of the ark, come and atone to the gold of the Egel. Now there's a question over here from anyone that studied some Gemara. There's a famous statement that Ein Kateger Nasa Saneger. The prosecutor can't become the defendant. The Kohen Gadol doesn't wear his golden clothing on Yom Kippur because that would remind God of the Egel. If he's trying to defend the Jewish people, so he doesn't wear gold at that time. So over here, there's a problem. We're saying let the gold be an atonement for exactly the sin. So it turns out that this is actually how it's supposed to be. When you're asking for an atonement for, in general, for other sins, then don't mention that one sin. That's the bad one. But when you're asking atonement for that specific sin, then you have to mention that specific sin. So as an atonement for the Egel, we bring gold. As an atonement for all the other sins, we don't mention. We don't bring that up now. Anyway, that's what's going on over here. You're right. Yeah, very good. So that would fit with how tshuva works. So you have to actually admit, you have to say it. Okay. That gold is not from the Egel, right? This gold, the golden shofis are not the. Rab Chagi b'shem Rab Shmuel Bar Nachmani, probably. Rab Shmuel Bar Nachman. What's the base? I don't know. Okay. Shalis Trumas Nemru, the Parsha Zeis. It says 3 times Truma. This is familiar because Rashi quotes this. It says 3 times the word truma in this section. It says truma sadanim, truma shkalim, truma samishkan. Adanim were the sockets. There was a truma that was given for the silver sockets that were underneath the planks that were of wood, that were the walls of the Mishkan. So those coins were given, and those coins were melted down, and they made sockets out of coin silver, right? And then there was the shkalim. The shkalim was used to buy sacrifices, and then there was the trumas mishkan. There was the material that was used to construct the Mishkan. Dabru al b'nei Yisrael v'yichli truma. Speak to the Jewish people and take from me truma sadanim. That's the truma that was used, the separation of the gifts that were used for the sockets. From anyone that's generous, you should take my truma. The truma shkalim. This is the shkalim. A little strange, no? It says Yidven Aliba. Really, it was from everyone. And this is the truma that you should take. This is the truma mishkan. This is the donation that was given for the construction. Yeah. If I had to choose, I wouldn't have chosen it like this. Truma mishkan lemishkan. The truma of the mishkan went to the mishkan. Mashiyirtzu yasu. Whatever they wanted, they could do. Now, this means whatever they wanted to give, they could give. Truma shkalim lekarban mashi. That's also a pshat. We'll see in a moment. Yeah, that could be that's the pshat as well. Ramesh is saying that it means mashiyir to yasa, that but they could do with the money or with those things whatever they wanted. In other words, this wood could be used over here, it could be used over there, whatever the materials from. The Chumas Shkalim went for the Karbanas. Mashiyir to Yasu. Whatever they wanted, they could do. However, Kadeshi Yad Kulam Shava, however, everyone needed to give equally. Now, one of the pshatim over here, I think in the Takon Chadatin, I saw that it didn't need to be a half a shekel. In later times, there could have, when they needed more, they would say everyone has to give a different amount. But everyone had to give equal. That's what it has to be. So they could switch the amount. Like nowadays, would we have to give $50? I don't know. They would have to give. Everyone has to give an equal, a $10 bill or whatever. But it can't be less than the half a shekel. Truma sadanim la'adanim, when the truma for the sockets that went for the sockets, everyone had to give the same amount. The rich and the poor had to give equal. Amar Rabbi Avon, it says also in the next parsha, it also says 3 trumas. Machzis a shekel and kisisa. It says Machzis a shekel truma l'Hashem, yitin trumas Hashem, l'seisis trumas Hashem. It says 3 times the word truma. Okay. We go to the next part of the Mishnah where we said on the 15th they would read the Megillah in the cities, in the walled cities. The Tesvav by Karnas and Megillah B'Krachim. I don't know how to read this. Lykain Amar Rav Chelbai, Rav Huna Rav, B'Shem Rav Chia Rabba. It's the same group that was said before. Hakol Yetim B'Yedalit Shizman Kriyasa. What are you telling me? That they would read it on the 15th? Everyone is Yaitza if they read it on the 14th. Why does it say the 15th? The main time of reading the Megillah is the 14th. Well, why is the 14th? Because the 14th is for the non-walled cities. And even for the walled cities, if they read on the 14th, the Yaitza. So say the 14th. I don't know if we read that on Malay. Rather, there's someone responding here. The main point over here is not to tell you the 14th to the 15th. You're missing the emphasis. Because they're mentioning several things that are happening on the 15th. They fix the roads, they fix the mikveh, they do other things all on the 15th. And they wanted to tell you that they do it on the other that's closer to Pesach, to Nisan. So they also tell you, that's the main emphasis. The main emphasis is which other. So they also tell you that the Megillah is also read then. But the emphasis is not the 15th versus 14th. The emphasis is the which other it is. Rav Yosi v'Ravacha have a yasin. Rav Yosa and Ravacha were sitting. Rav Yosa Ravacha. Rav Yosa says to Ravacha, "Le mistaber el l'shavar, avalava eloi." Says that wouldn't make sense if this would only be b'di'evid. In other words, like this. You're in a walled city, and you read the Megillah on the 14th instead of on the 15th. Right? The walled cities read the Megillah on the 15th. Other cities read the Megillah on the 14th. You're in a walled city, and you read the Megillah on the 14th, a day early. Now it's the 15th. Should you read it? No, it's the correct time. But you already yaitza yesterday. Or should you read it again today? So it says, it's not probable that it's only talking about that now it's the 16th and you read it on the 14th, that we tell you don't worry about it because it's over. It's over. The time has passed. There's nothing to do anyway. So it's not probable that that's what's happening, that we're talking about, that it's already the 16th and you missed the 15th, but you read it on the 14th. Rather, it's coming to tell you that it's still on the 15th, and it's telling you that's your yaitza, but when you read it on the 14th, you don't have to go ahead and read it again today. That's what Rabbi Yosef says to Ravacha. He responds back, he says, 1 second. How could you tell me that you read it on the 14th, and now it's the 15th, and you don't have to read it again, when I have a brisa that says there's certain places that they read it 2 days. Why? They read it on the 14th, and then they realized it's too early. They read it again on the 15th. If the 14th was enough, even l'chatchila, if it's enough b'di'evet, okay, whatever. But if it's enough even l'chatchila, then how do you ever have reading it twice? You read it on the 14th, now the 15th, we say you don't have to go ahead. L'chatchila, the 14th was good. Why do you have to read it again? Amalei, ufanas savarkain. I also hold like this. There's no question on the brisa onto Reb Chelba. Why not? Amar Ramana, this is what he's going to explain. Biyos, and it's correct. Ilu mishakarya b'yidalet, chayzer v'karya b'tesvav, shema in shemen loy. When he read it. Shema in shemen loy. Imat omer kein nimtzes oiker zman krochen biyodcha. If this would be talking about that someone that read it on the 14th, yeah. Oh, so Bios you have to read as a bitmiyah according to the carbonated. Is this possible? He's saying that if we would read it on the 14th, that what's that verb? If we would say that if you read it on the 14th, that's your yaitza, and you don't have to read it again, so then everyone would read it on the 14th, and then there would be no halacha of reading it on the 15th. So obviously you have to read it on the 15th, but we're talking about over here, who would read it twice, the 14th and the 15th? We said there were, in certain places they read it Shnei Yamim. That was if there was a doubt if it was supposed to be read on the 14th or the 15th. We had a doubt about the wall, probably. So for them, that's where the Brisa would come in and say that, what was that Brisa? That says, Makim Shinagel Shnei Yam Kernis Shnei Yam, and that they read it 2 days. Because that was a city that had a doubt. Yeah, what's he saying over here? If you would allow people to read it on the 14th, and that was it, then you would uproot the whole concept of the 15th. Okay. Tani Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel taught. The Tani Reb Shimon ben Gamliel Aimer mitzvahs anayigas ba'ad sheni ein nayigas perishin chutz mi hesped b'tainas in shavim zebazeh. The mitzvahs of Purim that are performed in the second Adar are not performed in the first Adar. The only thing that's performed in the first Adar is that we don't give a hesped and we don't fast. We don't make eulogies and we don't fast on Purim Kafan. We don't say Tachman for us. Otherwise, Purim is really in the second Adar. They're equal regarding fasting and eulogies. Rabbi Ba, Rabbi Yirmiyah b'Shem Rav, Rabbi Simon b'Shem Rabbi Shua ben Levi, Alachik Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. Allah is like Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. Okay, no tachman on Purim Kaf. Rav Huna Rabba, the Tziparin. Rav Huna, the rabbi of the great of Tziparin. Amar Hinig Rab Chia b'Tziparin, Kadad Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. He says that Reb Chia instituted this of Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. Lo yamar elehinik, halacha halai. He only said that was his custom, but he didn't say that was the established halacha. Well, I don't know if he means that you don't do it. Maybe I'm not sure if he's referring to the tachlan aspect or if he's referring to the mitzvahs. Maybe he holds that something is performed. It's unclear exactly what he's referring to. Maybe that's what it means. Maybe it just means that what's the main Adar? Adar Sheni. Right? That's what he's saying. The main Adar is Adar Sheni, according to this. Avalinian Shtaris, when it comes to documents, Kaisvin Adar Rishon, when it comes to the first month, you write Adar Rishon. When it comes to the second month, Adar Sheni Stam. Maybe I have to take out that. What is that? Kaisvin Adar Hasheni Tanyan. When you're writing the date in a document, and you have two Adars, in the first Adar you write Adar Rishon. In the second Adar, you just write Adar. This is, I don't know, now we have Rabbi Yehuda or Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, Adar Rishon Stam. He says the opposite. He says the first Adar, you just write Adar. And Adar Sheni Tanyan. In the second Adar, you write the second Adar. Well, that's the machlekes, yeah. No, but that's you're following based on the psak that the second Adar is the real Adar, but they're actually arguing about which Adar is the real Adar. Right. I don't know if that's 100% if they would actually hold that. Okay, let's leave it over here. Shekaya.
Thank you.
Okay, Atzlacha Rabba, everyone.